Rebels and rule breakers, welcome to another live by Chief Rebel and the squad. Tonight, I am extremely happy and excited to be once again hosting Jack Horner, aka Leon the Pig Farmer, into our space. Now, for those of you who don't know Jack, he is a spoken word artist, musician, all-round amazing rebel, and has been in our rebel world for a long time, and is very well loved as such, and in his own spaces as well. And we're going to be speaking about those spaces because there's all sorts of stuff going on. If you are not aware of Jack's work already, you will need to get aware of it because it's absolutely phenomenal. And there's an awful lot of it these days. So I say we because it's not just me today who's going to be interviewing Jack. It's also another member of the Rebel squad, Nadia.
Hi, everyone. Good to see
you. We're back again. And let's bring in the star of the show right now. Here he is. Woo!
Hey, Jack.
Welcome, Jack, again.
Again, how are we doing?
Yeah, really good. I'm trying to think now when it was we last interviewed you, because in some ways it feels like ages ago because you hadn't got the book out yet, the first book.
Yeah.
But then also it seems like not very long ago at all. It was ages though, probably, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's probably because I'm pushing so much merchandise out there that it seems like not so long, but it is long. Yeah, well, my first book came out a year last March. So
oh wow, here it is.
March I started doing. Yeah, that's the baby. That's when I started progressing it, but it came out in the May, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
But I started to. It was somewhere between then and when you started the Rebels, because I remember when you were doing it, and we were getting up numbers. I was in the first 50. So
yeah,
easily. I remember you getting the landmarks and putting it up with how many people you got. So I jumped on board the groovy train quite early on, I think.
You did. Now, I'm wondering now, who brought you into the Rebel gang? Because I just can't make the link somehow. Can you remember?
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, I do. And I've forgotten the lad's name. I apologise. He's one of your starting lads. I was reaching out around mental health, and it's your lad who works with the car industry.
Stephen?
Steve Whitten.
Yeah, Steve Whitten.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice one.
I came across Steve when I was first reaching out about wanting to do talks with people around men's mental health. And I don't know where I came across Steve, because it's like you said, it's a blur. It's so long ago. But I came across Steve early on at the start of last year when I was writing a book, and I thought I really need to get this into men's groups because we're not nattering enough and we're not talking, and I want to get it into groups of men that used to be like I used to be, that don't talk and they're quite stoic and just bottled it all up.
Yeah.
So he came across as one of the groups, as well as like some other ones and he was dealing with people men in the motor industry. And I think of a few of the things he said, you could get involved with. And I saw it on one of his pages, so I jumped in. I just like I do, just jumped in head first.
Amazing. Lisa's saying, superb to see you back. What a 12 months you've had, and we're going to get right into that in a minute. Now, for the people that are online or watching this in the future who don't know who Jack Horner is, or Leon the Pig Farmer, or anything in between outside, give us a little potted history about you, how you've come to what you do today, what it is you do today, because there's a lot of stuff, and anything else that will give us a good intro to you.
Okay. March the 8th, 2019, I woke up in a police cell drunk. I'd wrapped my car around a lamppost, an A&E hospital lamppost. That was the big sign.
Wow. The irony.
The irony in that. I'd never done anything like that before, and believe me, I won't do anything like that again. But what happened was, that was the darkest day of my life. That was my rock bottom. And I came out very quickly getting depressed. and realizing I had a problem. I knew I had a problem before. I tried to think of other mechanisms to stop my binge, because I was a binge drinker, and I'd go out on Thursdays or Fridays and I'd just keep going till the Sunday. And when I look back in hindsight now and speaking to family who I'd disassociated from and distanced myself, I'd got involved with toxic relationships. I'd got involved with people that were suitable for a good, healthy lifestyle. And I'd been drinking quite heavily and at weekends and holding down a job. And at 5 years, I'd realised that it had been unhealthy. It'd been going on a long time because I was an ex-serviceman, and that was part of my culture, going out and meeting lots of lads, going to football, and some of it was normal, some of it went a bit too far. So I had to make a change of lifestyle, and the lifestyle change was abstinence from alcohol, getting on medication, starting therapy, and what came through all that and a big open mind was creative writing. So I started doing that more or less straight away, just going up in the hills. And through that, when I got into therapy, I got diagnosed with, like I alluded to, an ex-serviceman. I'd seen a lot of contact and bad things in my time in Ireland and Africa and other places. And I got diagnosed with PTSD, and the incident with the police, I'd gone through an episode of dissociation syndrome where I just kind of like sleptwalked and gone into fight or flight, and where it would normally have been under pressure and anxiety, 30 seconds, a minute, which had happened previously. This was a 30-minute episode. It was kind of a serious one. So I kind of holistically healed myself, and I went through creative writing, and then I started performing spoken word. And through that came Leon the Pig Farmer, through going on stage, and a friend promoter said, I need a name for a poster. And that's what I came up with, Leon the Pig Farmer. It's a 92 film, and it was a pseudonym that my friend used in a fake job in the army. So the Pig Farmer was born, and from him came lots of spoken word, live sets, and then as soon as lockdown came in, creating that first book you showed, Talking Myself Out of Trouble, which is 30 verse with a recovering alcoholic. Yeah, a guy, Phil Wagstaff's done all the illustrations in it. I've done 30 lots of verse, and some of them are lyrics of the band that I then formed with my wife, because not only did I start to care about myself, I started to care about people around me. And my wife had just more or less entered my life as I was unspiraling, but she'd moved back to Japan, being a Japanese national, after I just met her. And then after my meltdown, I went back out and met her, and then we built a relationship from there. And then we got married 3 years later. We got married
was that last year?
Just last year, yeah. So we got married. She moved over to UK permanently, and we then officially formed the two-piece music project that we're in, which is The Dirt. And we've released music. We've put stuff online to stream. We've released 2 CDs, a live one and a re-recorded one that we did through a small DIY label in Manchester. And then next week we go in the studio ready to do a vinyl release next year. And then there's the second book which came out, so I've not stopped.
Oh my God, that's a lot of stuff.
That's all in 3 years. Yeah, it's gonna be. And we've had a lockdown. Yeah, just chuck that in as well. I've had a year and a half of inactivity off the stage as well. So.
Oh God, I've just found a picture of you on the stage, which is pretty epic, actually. I love that.
Yeah, my friend, and she's not even a trained photographer, took that one in, and I wanted to put that in because it sums me and Sachiko up. She nonchalantly stands there with a massive big wizardry board of musical instruments and things. And I know you called me a musician. I am technically, because I play drums very simply, but I do vocals, and Sachiko's the professional musician.
You've got a real ear, though. I mean, even when you do your spoken word, it's very rhythmic. It's musical in its own way, isn't it? And I'm just trying to find a picture, actually, of Sachiko in this, because I know there is one, isn't there, in the book somewhere? I can't seem to find it for some reason. It is here. It's a really nice picture of you both as well, because it's dead natural. So tell us first of all about. So you're now in the process of doing the second book, right? Is it out publicly?
It's out publicly. I got giddy, and I was launching it officially the middle of August. And I did that out of respect out of a lot of my friends who were on a small DIY publishing label who were putting their books out through them. So once they'd got theirs done, I said, right, I'll do mine in August. And
that's good.
And then I was, I mentioned the 15th, but then all the books arrived. So I'm sat with boxes of people who bought them on pre-sale, like yourself.
Me included.
Yeah, because I don't do it through a publisher. I I self-published with a friend of mine, Steve Riley. He's a digital wizard, and he creates it, and I do an online publishing site. So it is a publisher, but you do it all yourself, and then they market it with your Lulu, and they sell it online in DIY and alternative bookstores. So I do it that way just because I keep a bigger cut, not for me, but so that I can give other artists their fair share, and I can give money to charity. Because if I was giving a publisher 40%, I'd have to raise the price of the book, which makes it less accessible to people economically at the moment. And it's not about making money. It's about getting the awareness of what goes on in this noggin out to other people.
Yes.
So I want to keep the price as low as I can. I want to still give money to creative people and find money to give to charity. If I sold it in other places, that wouldn't be possible. It might reach a bigger audience, but I'm not sure it would at the moment with my the people that I get to. So what I do is I do a pre-sale, I sell a few hundred, I get the money in, I buy a bigger amount, and I take them on tour, and everybody gets a bit of the pot. So it's cooperatism. It's ultimate socialism. Everyone gets something apart from the big man.
I love that. Well, what you were
Yeah.
saying before about, getting stuff out there that's in that noggin of yours.
Yeah.
There's an awful, if your 2 books and the stuff I've seen you create are even just a fraction of what goes on in that noggin of yours, God knows what else happens, because it just must be such a full brain. So one of the things that is really intriguing me about these, so I've got both of your books now, and I've seen you perform at your book launch for the first one and everything. Amazing. There is a definite different vibe in the second one, isn't there? So what my question really is, what is the difference for you personally between the 2 books, and kind of what was your intention with the second versus the first?
The first book is all about the anger and hate of myself and the frustrations of not being level and dealing with things in my head negative about myself. So that was the healing process for the first book, which I got the words out of what went on in my head through anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress. So I got that in the book, and that's literally me not liking myself and wanting to be better. The second book was going to be a third book that I was going to put out. It was an idea in my head because I never wanted to be a political poet, and I've turned into one. So I've done what I didn't want to do. However, with lockdown and the current climate of what's going on with, and I will say it, with politicians that blatantly lie, U-turn, blatantly lie again, stand up in a House of Commons and lie, yet keep the jobs. Because if that was you or I, we'd have been sacked months ago.
Yep.
And I am more left wing than right wing. I wouldn't be extreme left. I do believe in socialism. I do believe in everybody being given a lifting hand, because I grew up on a council estate in a working class single parent family. So I don't forget where I've come from and what my family needed to survive, to be able to put a cloth on my back and shoes on my feet. And my mum had to hold down 3 jobs. I understand that people have aspirations, and that is what centrist Tories would give you. What I don't like is when the leader of this country has blatantly lied that many times to the Queen and everyone else, and yet he can stay in power. And I don't like it that money gets shifted that we pay in taxes and gets given through nepotism to other people at short notice, and it's given by the blink without a blink of an eye. And that made me so angry about what is currently going on in this country.
Really
I had to write,
up, hasn't it? Like that, there's a lot of people angry about this now in ways that I don't think they were before.
No, and I think what I had to do with the first book is say, look, this was me. I was feeling bad, and this is what helped me. It could help you. With this second book, what I really wanted to write a nice book on the back of that, which was the antithesis, which was like an Alice in Wonderland style with the same artist, and go down the rabbit hole and introduce him to everyone that helped me out, and did a little storybook of people and stories that I've met on the way in my first 3 years of recovery. However, I couldn't put that out in a book form to tell everyone, oh, here's a nice little funny book in a world that is burning, boiling, where we're not dealing with global issues, whether it be war, whether it be global warming, whether it be starving, whether it be people that are suicide levels going through the roof, people getting homeless, people, more food banks than we've ever had in our life. I felt I had to say something. As I had a platform, I felt it was my duty to talk about that and raise people's heads that are still burying them in sand and say, look, this is what I see. Just have a little read. I'm not telling you which party that I personally would like to see run this country, but just have a little look at what's going on and make your own decision. So
this is exactly. Sorry to interrupt you, Jack. That was definitely the vibe that I got from this one. It's really fascinating what you say actually about, for me, what it sounds like you're saying to me is that it just felt inappropriate to kind of do that original idea that you had, and that maybe that's okay for later down the line, but right now there's some stuff that you need. And the vibe I've really got from this second one, and I've not managed to read it all, but I've kind of opened the page and seen what comes out. Like picked a random page. It feels like to me a call to people to sort of wake up and look at what's really going on and kind of start questioning things in a very real way. There's one piece in particular, History Repeats. It's called, and the last verse just really hits home. I'm going to read it out actually. So remember the narcissist who wants to be king, a smiling assassin with a plum-filled grin. Remember dictators who massacred masses. Do you need me to refresh on old history classes? And that was the line that got me, because this is a concept that's fascinated me for as long as I can remember. This kind of, all you need to do is think about any moment in time and there is somebody and something that was going on that we can, if we look at it clearly, we can see these things repeating over and over again. And it's like a warning, like you're ringing this warning bell, and that's very clear with this book.
This isn't at the moment. I don't think nationally or globally we're in this just like it's just a warning. This is literally Belisha beacons going off and sirens saying, "Wake up! Will you wake up and see what's going on?" I can't hide behind a narrative that Boris Johnson has got Brexit done. No, he hasn't. He's still got Northern Ireland to sort. We've still got people queuing up at borders. He has not got anything done. He signed a piece of paper to release us out of any contractual agreements of Europe. That is all he's done. That's the easy thing he can do. He's not got Brexit done. He's not sorted all the infrastructure out. He's literally made us leave a family. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't really... I was on the fence a lot with Brexit because I don't believe the current style of Europe works. Yet, I don't believe leaving was the answer. But I believe not being part of the current bureaucratical way that Europe's run isn't the answer, because people are feeding off money there as well. And failed politicians then go join the European Parliament and find a living. So I don't believe that works. However, he's not also got COVID done. He just literally gave loads of money to all his mates and went, here, go create stuff. And I'm literally going to put more money in to get the vaccine first and sod the third world.
By the way, I made a load of money off me Pfizer shares. Oh, let's not go there.
Don't go there.
I said, by the way, I earned a load of money off me Pfizer shares.
So it's like, I know you've got things done, but you ain't done them as good as what you're making out. And your spin and your sales pitches, I ain't reading them. And I'm not going to believe it. It's not if you don't want to believe it, but I don't believe he's a suitable person to run a country, never mind my local corner shop. It's like, it couldn't balance the books at my local newsagent, local post office. He couldn't. So I have got no faith in him whatsoever. And it's like, there's a line in one of my poems, which will come out in my next book, but it's literally listening to people on trams. And it was when Corbyn was going in 2 years ago when I first started writing. And it's about, would you prefer Boris or Jeremy? It's like deciding to be burnt or hung. And it's like, a lad actually said this on a tram, and it's in a line in my poem. And I'm like, I totally get where you're coming from here. It's like, if someone asks you, do you want to get burnt or do you want to get hung? What? That's your decisions. So literally, between two politicians, you can decide which way you're going to go. And that kind of sums it up. And that's a humour line in a poem about a tram ride, which will come out later on down the line in book 3. But my mind just couldn't concentrate on... I had about 15, 20 poems, and I like to put a collective lot of 30 or get 40 together and then narrow it down to 30. I couldn't get enough of the nice stuff. I kept writing
to make political stuff.
Yeah. So I thought, this is for now. This book's for now. It has to come out now. So that's why probably 3 months ahead of when I intended to bring my second book out. I thought I'd give 18 months between them. I just cut all back. Once I got the books and the sale was out, I had to let people have a read and start shedding my word, because it's, before you know it's too late. The time's passed, and we're living under a different sort of rule and party line.
One of the things I've always liked about how you write, Jack, and you alluded to it before, it's like, with the humour line, the tram thing, is that you do put humour in things, and there is a glimmer of hope in things. I know we spoke last time about you almost, there was almost a closing of the loop in a lot of things that you wrote in that book, that it was like, yeah, this is shit and I've been through the darkness, but here's some other, here's another perspective, or here's some light, or whatever. Or here's a little hope. And I think it's really important, that stuff, isn't it? Because it's very easy to ram all this stuff down people's throats. But if it's just pure anger and darkness, eventually people run away.
They'll switch off, their attention span will go, because no one just wants to, it turns into a book of whinges and whines then. And it's not about whinging and whining, because it's literally around saying, I've switched the telly on and I've seen this. I don't agree with that. I'm going to write something about it, because it's going to be cathartic for me. It's going to help my anxiety and depression. So I'm going through the same process of healing, and I'm going to look at the world a lot better, because there is hope. There is positivity. It's a beautiful place. This planet is amazing. It's like we've got so many different creatures. We've got so many different facets of societies and cultures. Like I learn every day from my wife, who's Japanese. I learn something new every day about a calm way of living, or about looking at it from a different point of view. And that is just in my little microcosm of my household, whether it be in my house or in my camper van. I learn something new every day. And that is from one culture and one nation. Out there is a lot of beautiful people, but at the moment, they're getting suppressed through greed. And I think that just needs to stop a little bit. I'm not bothered if someone wants to have £1 million or £1 billion. If you've got £1 billion, give a couple of million to Central Africa that are starving and burning. It's not hard. It's not hard. You don't need a rocket to fly to space. We don't. We've got oceans to solve. We're just like, why do you have to have a vanity project and fly to space? It's like, that's what you're doing with your excess millions and billions. You're not solving the problems out on the country that you are desecrating.
Or even the community that we live in. And I think that, there's something quite wonderful that actually, from all that stuff that you're observing and feeling a certain way about, that you create something beautiful out of it, actually, with this poetry and the other things you do. And I'm going to let Nadia get a word in edgeways in a minute after just one more question.
No worries.
And that is, we can't let this go by without speaking about the images and so on in the second book. The first one had Phil Wagstaff's amazing artistry, which is just mind-blowing. And this one has got Hels Millington's images in it, which are amazing. And I'm really intrigued to understand what I'd almost sort of want to be a fly on the wall with the conversations that happened between you guys when you were thinking about what's the kind of tone with this book, and how do we choose the images for this?
Well, I got Helen on board quite early on, because when she was very much a budding gig photographer on the Manchester music scene, and she was very enthusiastic. She had a lot of energy in her, and she wanted to capture musicians in a different way than what other people were. So she was coming in at a different angle. And when I got sat down with her, I said, I want to do another book, and I'm bringing this one forward a bit, and do you want to come involved? She was like, yeah. I said, them two, the one on the left, it's literally outside one of my favorite live music venues, but it's just like where there's a nice cafe bar, where unfortunately someone wasn't drinking at that point out of a nice £5-6 pint of beer or a gin and tonic, but that was next door. Someone goes and sleeps, has their bedroom next door to your beautiful society living on Oldham Street in Manchester, and the other one's in the Co-op in the doorway. Now the Co-op are really good, and that's been there a lot, so they don't move him on. So I look at the positives of that, of what that supermarket's done. But that someone is sleeping outside there in the middle of Manchester while people are walking in and getting their £3.50 meal deals and their coffees, and every day for lunch.
Expensive blooming,
And
I think
it's right in
Manchester.
a lot of them, most of my Manchester, because that is where I kind of write a lot. There is a couple of pictures further out, but it's like I wanted to do that because the front cover is of Manchester, and it's literally that's where people park their cars to go earn 40, 50 grand a year or whatever they do on one side, and the other side is a block of flats, which in that photograph looks like a prison cell. So people are working the backsides off to live in small places, but because it's a glass facade and it looks beautiful, and they're on whatever floor they are in Manchester with a certain postcode, it's fine. But there's two sides to Manchester once you get outside the glass towers, and I wanted to highlight that side of it, that we live in. We've got a very advanced country which is very rich, yet we have third world problems on some of the streets, and we're not solving them. We're not getting them sorted. It's like we can build massive big multi-million pound blocks of apartments, but we can't solve out what's going on ground level first. And that's the two sides of town. You've got the back alleys on one, and then you've got the lovely canal where everyone with lovely flats look onto. They don't look onto a rat-infested squalor. They look onto a beautiful canal. And the other people have to find out what day can they actually empty their bins, and what day can they actually afford to live. Because people come out of them alleyways and then they go to a food bank. And it's trying to send as many provocative messages as I can through illustration. Because not everybody likes to read. Not everybody, especially people with dyslexia, have a problem sometimes with certain writing, which is why I make the font a little bit bigger. But I want to make it I want to make it art, and I want to make it accessible to as many people. So people learn through imagery. Some people learn through olfactory reasons, whether it be taste, audio, visual. So whatever I try and do, I try and reach certain facets of people through different bits, whether it be music, whether it be word, whether it be written, whether it be illustration. And you get a broader reach of people of understanding the message you're trying to get across them.
Yeah.
With it doing it subtly, I don't want to say this poem's about this, and here's an image. This tells you what's in my head. It doesn't. It just says, well, I'm thinking of this, and that's also happening, or this is happening. And I wanted to make it provocative, because you don't make it provocative and you don't say anything. It ain't punk. It doesn't give that what I want to be.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't want to hide behind a veil and pretend that everything's fine. I want to just raise my head above and challenge certain elements of society and say, that ain't right. That ain't right. So,
well, before we get so we'll probably end up talking about the dirt, so the music project that you've got with Sachiko, your wife, and I know Nadia's got a couple of questions that will kind of probably lead us into that, so I'm gonna let Nadia kind of take the floor for a bit.
Okay, I was just wondering, Jack, because I write poetry and lyrics as well, and I just wondered how you differentiate between the two, or if you do, and how you decide which is which, what you're going to put into a spoken word form and what you're going to put into a lyric song form.
They're all, to start with, they're all the same. They all go in the same book. They all go through the initial process of me writing notes down, and when I'm watching in my phone in a diary, it then gets put onto scrap bits of paper and juggled around over a week or two. Then it goes into my neat book where I collect all my verse. I then decide which ones would suit Leon, which one are rhythmic, easy to remember, and which ones send a good message across for spoken word. So the words need to be a bit more, they could be more complex if they're going to be a spoken word piece. I can use a lot more alliteration. I can use a lot more metaphors. I can use a lot more stuff. And when I'm doing it slower, they fit a spoken word piece for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Right.
If there's a bit that I don't think, I'm not happy about that, I don't think I could learn that, and that won't be Leon. It just sits in my book. And then Sachiko will come up with a beautiful piece of music, and I'll go, I've got it. I've got it upstairs. I just don't know what page it's on, but I've got the words to fit this. And then I'll go and get it, and I might change it around and repeat the odd verse for a chorus, or I might just do a piece of music and not even bother with a chorus, or I might just repeat it at the end. And I kind of go around it that way. And there's even certain bits which don't go as performance poetry and they don't go as lyrics. They will just sit in a book. Or I'll take extracts from them and use them on parts of an album or in something else. So my words never get used. They'll just get recycled or reused in a different way. So I don't know when I write them, are they going to be lyrics or written poetry or spoken word, but they will almost certainly fit in one of those three elements.
Yeah.
And I think it's finding having your own ear and having your own confidence of where you think they would suit and what kind of audience would accept them words.
Yeah, because I write differently between the two as well. I just wondered what your take on was it.
Yeah, I don't kind of go, right, we've got music, I need to write lyrics. I just constantly write and put notes in my phone. They then go in a book. And then when we're creating, like we're doing the album and demos at the moment, I've got one bit which has never been used. It's quite harsh. Yeah, it's going to go on the album as a spoken word piece right in the middle of 8 tracks. I'm going to do an introduction and outro bit, which we've done with ambient and experimental sounds. This bit's going to be with Sachiko's going to use like an e-bow, electronic bow on a guitar. And it's going to be screechy and it's going to be hot. It's going to be haunting. And these words are literally going to be read. I'm going to read them from the paper, and they will never leave the album because it's about being trapped. So I'm going to put these words on an album. They will be trapped. They will be never performed live. They will never be performed as a poetry piece. They will never go into a book. They are literally going to be entombed on vinyl, and that is where they'll stay. And that's what I wanted. This bit is all about just staying in there, and it's called The Agitator, and it's about it's just literally about I want to get out and I want to do stuff. I want to get out and I want to be angry and put sticks in spokes. I want to do this, but it's the frustration that certain people have in life and what people feel, because not everyone like me has the confidence to stand up in front of 100 or 1,000 people and say, I believe this, follow me, I'm the Pied Piper. Some people are a little bit more passive in their protest or passive in their beliefs, still rebellious of what like the ethos of yours and our group is about, making your own little rebellious decisions. But some people aren't that confident to stand up in front of the camera or put it to music and have it validated by other people. And that is a big move, because people will critique what you do. You've got to be strong enough to say, all right, I'll take your point of view on board, but I'm not softening and diluting what I'm saying, because that wouldn't be the pig farmer or the dirt. So, and I suppose, pardon?
No, you carry on. Go on.
And that's kind of what I'm saying. And Nadia, I wouldn't decide on the words when I write them that these are going to be a good song. These are going to be a good spoken word or written piece. They kind of they find their own home. I write them, put them in a book, and eventually over time they'll find their own nest and have their own little chicks.
Great.
It must be so nice to have the freedom not only to have this creative skill that you've got, but to have more than one outlet for that. And that must be very freeing, actually.
Oh, it's very free. It's very liberating. It's something that I wish, you can't look backwards, but I wish I had the confidence to do it a few years ago. Like when I used to do art in school, one of the very few, and I'm going to show my age here, O levels that I did get is an O level in art. And that was the first thing my parents said to me. You used to be a very good creative illustrator drawer at school. You used to have a massive big folder with lots of pictures in. Are you going to think about doing that? Because a creative outlet's good for mental health. I went, well, I found a new one, and it's poetry. And they kind of, I did hear their jaws hit the floor. Poetry. You're a working class lad who goes to football and drinks pints of beer. What are you doing writing poetry? You're a Yorkshire lad. What the hell's going on, lad? Go on, sort it out. And you could hear all these things going on, cogs going in people's heads. And I'm like, nah, I've got this. I love it. And 2 books, 2 CDs later, it's
and it suits you so well.
It has, yeah. And I love the rhyme. I love the words. I love the problem solving of having loads of words in my phone that I write as notes and structuring them into something which tells a mini story. Yeah. And it's like what we talked about, that I do highlight a positive bit at the end, because if you don't, you leave people in a horrible place. So I do work off the very simple primary school structure of your first ever stories. Put a beginning, put a middle, put an end. Let's conclude it. And everything I do, whether it be in 8, 9 or 10 verse, fits into that structure. Yeah. And it always will, because it ain't broke for me yet. And I'm going to keep with it and just keep that sort of format. And I'll say that to you, Nadia, if you want to feel a total freehead, don't think this has got to be a lyric. Just write the words down. And you can always then rewrite them and change them into song type if you want later on. But just I feel that if I put a barrier there before I've written, I'm restricting myself straight away for what comes out of my mind.
Yeah.
There is
I
no
hear
barriers. It's literally a blank piece of paper and anything can go on it.
Yeah.
And then when I'm happy with that, it can go in my book. I can then take it off again and chop a verse out, which is a bit soft, or if it is soft, it can become an anthematic verse and it can be repeated twice just to accentuate it. So nothing. There's no boundaries. There is nothing.
Yeah,
There's
brilliant.
No rules.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it. Just don't put boundaries on yourself. Don't put restrictions, because there's enough. It's the moment you walk out your door or switch your phone on, there are enough boundaries up there to pigeonhole us and to put us into boxes and to tell us every time we fill a form out, we've got to decide what sex we are, what colour we are, where we've come from. We've got to put ourselves in all these boxes, which to me, although are relevant for certain causes, for a statistician and for someone to justify it, it's irrelevant what sex you are. It's irrelevant what colour you are. It's what age you are. Why? It don't matter to me. I go gigging with 18-year-olds, with teenagers. There's people 60-year-old. There's people that are black, white, green, tangerine, and I say that in a religious term. There are people of every sexuality, binary, non-binary, and you've got to respect them and everybody as in where they're from. But as for a bit of paper, for us in society, we don't need those restrictions and boundaries. We just you love and like people for who they are, not what they are.
Totally.
And I think that's what we've got to be more like. And so with having all those restrictions before you leave the house, of times to go to work that I used to have, and times to do this, and you can only have that long if you want to eat, and you can only have that long if you want a cup of tea. No, not anymore. No, I get up when I want. I'll go to bed when I want. I'll have something to eat when I want, and I'll take as long as I want. And I'll write when I want. And if I don't, I'll go out for a walk and have a day off. And not everyone is that. And I appreciate not everyone is in that sort of privileged position because of families, kids, and all that. But at one point, I had to take the step over the line and go, no more. And that is where I am now.
We find lots of reasons, don't we, to defend our need to conform, even though we also say we don't want to conform, which is, I think, is an irony. Well, that's a whole other rabbit hole. Lisa's got a burning question, which is, do you ever suffer from writer's block, or does it all come through to you when needed?
Yeah, I've just kind of tried to put an answer on that. Never blocks, just keeps on writing. If I do have a block and I don't write for a few days, I don't get stressed over it. I've obviously got too busy. Like, people said to me, "Oh, you went to Japan for 5 weeks. You must have come back with loads of writing." I went, "Nah, I didn't write a thing." They went, "What? 5 weeks?" I went, "Yeah, because I was happy. I was with my wife in her country."
You were capturing it like photographically as well. Though.
Exactly.
I mean, I loved following your journey when you were in Japan, because it was really eye-opening, and the differences of all the places you went to, and
I tried to do that. I tried to capture more. Yeah, I tried to do that, Emma. I tried to capture a different side of Japan than just taking pictures of temples and cherry blossom. I try to get a little bit of an alternative, off the beaten track view, so I could share it with everyone that was there. And I think that's what I found creatively in Japan. I found just getting imagery and telling stories of what I was doing in visual form rather than writing, because I felt the way I write is it's in my phone, and I felt if I was in my phone looking down, I wasn't looking up, and it was sensory overload. And it was the third time I'd been to Japan, and this time for 5 weeks, and I didn't 1 minute get bored. Even when I was sat in Sachiko's family house, I was never bored. It was like there's so much. The moment I walked out the door and went 5 minutes to the sea, or looked backwards and there's big snow-capped Alps, and it's like there's just so much going on. And I was sitting in such a calm and happy place that I only write when I'm angry. And that 80% of my work is my frustrations and psychotherapy for me to keep calm.
Let's hope you're never 100% happy then, Jack.
Yeah.
No, I probably aren't. No.
The art would stop, wouldn't it? Totally.
The art would definitely dry up then if I was. Don't get me wrong. I am happy. I am probably 99% happy as a pig in shit. Pardon the pun.
But, you do seem incredibly happy, actually.
I am happy. But I think if suddenly I stopped feeling angry or sad, then I'd have to go to the docs, which I have done, and say, "Can you reduce my medication because I'm numb?"
Feel it.
You've got to feel. If you're feeling numb, then you're not living in this world. You're in this balloon, and And that's why I've took this step in the last 2 weeks, fun enough, to reduce my citalopram levels, because I feel confident enough that I'm that happy, that I am that grounded, that the creativity is in a great place, that I can start weaning off the meds which stabilized me 3.5 years ago. So I feel that I've got a hold on different elements of my life. So I've kind of halved, which is a celebratory thing. So I went, which I do. I don't drink much, but I've just had a 2 weeks level of abstinence. But I went to the seaside yesterday and watched a load of music in Rill, of all places, and met a load of musicians and promoters. And I thought, I'm having a pint. That's my freedom. I don't want to say that I never drink, because if I do that, then I'm locked in abstinence through having a problem. I'll deal with the demons today, but there wasn't any. I woke up happy. I went to visit friends. I dropped some books off on the way coming down the M56. I met a couple of friends. I've had a great day. There has been no post-booze anxiety, because my head is in that much of a good place with meeting a lot of people yesterday, having a sun-drenched day on the seafront at Rill, and just meeting a lot of people and having a couple of pints and a chippy tea on Friday night. So
what a great level of emotional intelligence that is, though, that where you can kind of choose, okay, today's a good day for a drink because I know it's a good day.
Yeah, and I think you've got to look at your day. I work daily in everything, and I think that because I'm feeling good and because I'm feeling happy, I already said before I reduce my medication, Sachiko, I'm going down. I'm going down half. I'm reducing it by half. I phoned my mum up and said, I'm going down half. Keep an eye on me. If I'm starting to do something that's a bit odd, let me know, because I'm open to criticism now. I told Sachiko I was coming down. I put all the mechanisms in place so that if I needed to, then the cavalry was there.
Warning system.
Yeah. I know through myself when I get this horrible gut feeling when anxiety is coming, and I've not had any in the last 2 weeks. So I thought, right, I'm going to have a couple of pints tomorrow. There's loads of bands on. 4 bands I know that are playing. If I can't stand on a coastal town in North Wales in Britain and have a couple of pints and watch a load of friends perform and have a day off from performing myself, then I've got bigger problems than I thought I had. So I'm going to have a couple of pints and I'm going to enjoy it, because I do like a pint and I enjoy the social aspect. And I didn't let the anxiety get to me before. So I had a few pints, and I've one for a few more weeks now. It's like, it's done. But I said to Sachiko, I'm having a couple, keep an eye on me and bring me bottles of water every couple of hours, because when I do get on it, I used to get on it, but I can't do that now. So then when everyone went to the pub after the gig had finished at about 10:30, me and Sachiko went back to the camper van, got a good night's sleep, woke up, and you've had a personal moral victory then, that you've gone out and you've not been restricted by certain elements of society or what people tell you should do when you've got a mental illness. And you are taking ownership of your own problems and your own recovery and your own health daily. And
you feel good in the morning.
Oh, I felt brilliant. I did. I've not felt bad at all. You know what I mean? I didn't drink that much to get an hangover. I was totally aware of it, but I was in the sunshine, and that was a victory, just holding a plastic glass of beer, watching the mates play. And that's an intelligent victory, and that is being able to enjoy life to its maximum with no detrimental effect.
Totally. Love that.
So,
Nadia, am I right in thinking you had another question?
Yeah, I believe you got at the Bearded Theory Festival, you gigged there, didn't you?
Yes.
And you got an encore. Would you say that the spoken word is more coming into more mainstream entertainment now?
I'd say it is. That whole afternoon from 1:00 till 1:15 was one of my highlights of spoken word career. And that is saying something. One of my other ones was playing in front of 1,000 people at the Ritz and doing a 5-minute set before my mates and a couple of iconic bands. That was just with Gail letting me loose, who's a brilliant punk anarchistic woman in her own right. Gail, who runs the tea tent there, she puts a sign outside. You've been there. No, there is no racism, no homophobia, nothing. If you've got any of that, don't even bother walking in my tea tent and having a brew or a rum and coffee and a bit of cake. You can get out because it doesn't exist in here. And that's my kind of place. So I asked her, I nagged her for a year before I went in. She told me off because she's like that when she was doing a staff briefing. I walked out with my tail between my legs, went back in later. She went, I'll give you a slot. Sunday, 1:00. And I'm like, brilliant. And it was packed. And I said, can I do one more? And everyone was up in uproar, and I went, yes. And that is, artists do like validation. It's not the ego. It's just saying, right, I'm doing something that's right, so let's keep going. But I'd say, Nadia, there is a big surge of spoken word, especially around Manchester. And I'd say Liverpool's got it bubbling, Leeds has got it bubbling, Sheffield in the north, and especially now, as we were probably in the old punk days I was too much of a kid, but I do remember the early 80s of more people talking about revolutionary things. There is a lot more spoken word, and people have got a lot more to say. And every poet that I know has gone through their own journey or is hanging on to something, or they've got a problem still. And it's a great creative outlet to get your problems solved or sorted.
Yeah.
And it's a great community as well. And it's getting bigger. There's nights popping up everywhere in Manchester, all in all corners. Some, a lot of them are free. A lot of them are, you go along, do your 5-10 minute slots, and you meet other like-minded people. Some publish books, some just do it for their own therapy. Some do it just to go out and meet a couple of like-minded people. And it really is taking off again. I think I got on it just before this wave has suddenly come in. And lockdown has certainly done that. People have had time on their hands. They've been writing or they've been doing stuff. And they've got, and people now at the moment, like I've said with the book, they've got something to say. And it gives people a platform to go out, not have to listen to music or go to the theatre or do anything. There's a new form of art which is getting a resurgence. And it's not just the poetry. It's not just the literate side of writing. It's just putting a few lines down and getting your heart out and having that platform with a microphone or a bit of paper or doing it on your phone to share your story. And there's a lot of great places to do that now.
Well, it's what I've learned from kind of watching you do, even just your videos, but also watching you live, is reading it's fantastic, but watching you perform that is probably the thing that's sort of changed my or got my attention with spoken word, because actually you make it really visceral. So there's something about how you perform and the emotion you put into it, and the physicality you put into it, even if it's just a video. And your incredible vocabulary as well is, it's certainly not a small part of it, but there's something very, very sensory about what you do. The words that you choose, the emphasis you put in, all of that stuff. And to see that come off the page in that form, I think is, that it's probably opening an audience partly because of that, and the fact that it's not an elitist thing anymore either.
That does exist though. It's
right.
I've had knockbacks because I've not got awards and I've not been on the BBC.
Right.
So although I've got books, the elitism I would say still exists there, and I don't keep quiet about that. There are certain groups that I've said, can I come and do a slot? And they've gone, you can come to our open mic, but you can't have a featured slot because you've not been on the BBC and you've not got awards or you've not won a slam. I'm like, one, I don't join slams because I don't need validated on what I do. Two, I don't apply to the BBC because I don't believe the British Broadcasting Corporation is suitable for broadcasting. It's that narrow-minded. And three, I self-publish books, so publisher doesn't get money, so I give money to charity. I don't need.
You're the antithesis of all of that shit.
I am. So
yeah.
What I thought was I could give a little story on your night. Thank you very much. But should anyone ever throw me a gong, I've had medals for fighting in wars. That's more validation than getting a piece of paper from the BBC. I'm more punk than that, mate. I don't need your night. See you later. And what would have crushed me a couple of years ago through confidence of going, I've asked you for a slot. I think now with 2 books under my belt, a couple of records and a northern platform, I think that I'm quite validated now in featuring, and wherever I go, when I do 10, 15, 20 minutes, I've got an hour to say, I could fill a night for you and I could let people know that you don't need awards to be successful, and that's where they should be looking. That you don't need to have validation. There are people out there on the underground that have got great stories to sell. So let's give that, because then you're not looking at everyone that's marginalised, are you? So if you're cutting me off just because I don't upload my stuff to the BBC, or I don't go and apply for a slam and win it because I don't need to enter a competition, because it's not about winning. It's not about coming first. Whoever comes third, fourth, fifth or 10th is invited to my party. Once you
Too
start
right.
putting people in orders, you start devalidating.
You create your own little echo chamber. Then,
you do. So
Yeah.
I've kind of like, I've gone, right, fair enough, mate. I totally get you.
You'd rather not.
I won't email you
Yeah,
again.
see you later.
But don't come knocking. Don't come knocking because you'll get 7 letters, 4 space 3 more, and you might get an exclamation mark at the end if I can be asked giving you 30 seconds. But yeah, I'll do what I do, and if it doesn't fit into, I'm not going to shoehorn myself into your clogs, mate. It's like, but I get the message, and I like that. I like it that you're ruffling feathers. You're not welcome at our party. Okay, go drink your champagne,
exactly
mate.
that.
I'm not bothered.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the things that I've always resonated with you. The fact that you're a feather ruffler, but not just for the sake of it, not just to piss people off, because it's real stuff, and the feathers need ruffling, and that's kind of part of my ethos as well. We need to talk more about the dirt. We definitely need to get lots of that in. Lisa's also asking, what's the pinnacle for you? Where do you want to take your career in words? I don't know if those two things maybe might be mingled in with the dirt, or I don't know. Tell us whatever comes out.
There is no pinnacle. If you try and climb a mountain and fail, you'll beat yourself up for the rest of your life. So I don't give myself a mountain to climb. I've done all that. I've set myself goals in the army and other previous careers. I've set myself milestones that I've had to reach. Once you do that, you don't look at what's left and right. So I kind of look at every day I reach a junction, I will descend left, right, straight on. It's never backwards. I'll decide left, right. And it's like a Pac-Man game. I don't know where this is going. I don't know what's going to happen. However, enjoy the ride. Don't be looking too far ahead at the next service station. Don't be looking at the top of that hill to put a flag on it, because you might find that there's a lovely, beautiful paddock and a hill over there that you're missing if you're too focused on going up there. So I don't set myself massive goals like that. I'd love to take the dirt to more places. That is where I want to go. I've already had questions and messages of people that want me to collaborate with them musically, with my spoken word. I guess another book to get a trilogy. Just keep writing and just keep growing the Leon stuff and the dirt stuff. And I do think the dirt is where I find a lot more calm, because I'm working with my wife and creating with the person I love most in the world. And I think that going downstairs in our little creative studio, which is a tanked basement with patio doors, but it's a studio. It's got guitars, amps, a laptop with digital recording stuff, and a rug on the floor where all the equipment goes, which is like a studio, a professional one. So I call it a studio. Sachiko calls it a cellar, a basement. But I don't know, Lisa. I just think if you look too much at that mountain hill, you're not looking at the valley down here, and you're not looking at what's going on. You get too focused and driven, and this isn't about an end goal. It's about, if I want to go around the mountain and go to the next valley or the dale, it's just about, without talking metaphors, it's just about enjoying it. And I'd love to go and do some massive big gigs in front of people and in really classical venues, just to ram it up the noses, because some people want it. But I'm not John Cooper Clarke, and I don't want to do the Bridgewater Hall, and I don't want to sell out. And I just want to keep telling stories. So wherever that be, whether it be at Gale's Tea Tent, at Beardy Theory, I'd love to set the band to Beardy Theory. I think it's one of the best and most iconic underground independent music festivals going. I go every year. And I'd love to get on the Woodland stage there and just rip it up.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to a couple of other little festivals, like, I don't know, I'm doing Northern Green Gathering, which is, it's run by solar and people on bikes, human power and water, so that they don't take any generators on site. So I'm doing stuff like that. I'd love to go down to Beautiful Days with the Levelers and do some political poetry down there. But these are, if it happens, it happens. They're not, I must do this to have a successful career.
Achieve.
It's like my life. My life won't change because I've not done something that I'd like to do, because something else will happen which I'll embrace and enjoy that. So it's a kind of an ambiguous answer, but I just think there's just we already put too many goals on ourselves, like paying off the mortgage by this age, getting promotion by this. Kids are going to kick out when they're 18 and we move on. I've never had kids, but this is what I hear some people talking about. 18, you're going to uni, you're never coming back. We're going to downsize and we're going to go off in a camper van.
Turn your bedroom into a gym.
Oh, it's just like, yeah.
But you know, you say it's ambiguous, Jack, but actually, weirdly, this is exactly what I need to hear at the moment. That what you said before about if you keep your eye on the goal straight ahead, you miss what's to the left and to the right. That's going to stick with me. That's going to really stick with me. That is beautiful wisdom, that is. And Lisa's saying, nothing ambiguous about that for me. So there you go.
That's good.
Jack wisdom. What about this one here then? So can you add a list of dates to the group for the dirt and for Leon and all of that stuff? And also we need you to add links to the book and all of that.
Yeah.
So you need to do that for us. Tell us a little bit more about the dirt then. So where's it kind of come from? What would you expect to experience if you went to a gig? All that. Right.
The dirt started just before lockdown. Sachiko was here visiting for 5 months, and she was on a tourist visa, so she'd come back and go back and forth, and I'd go to Japan for a few weeks, and then she'd come back here, and she was on one of the first longest visits that she came over and stayed for a long period of time. And I guess she brought some stuff over, and we'd already talked about music because she loves a lot of similar sort of music to me. The late 80s, early 90s, real old style indie music that was going around England, the alternative stuff that was on alternative record labels before this indie label got coined, which is literally just guitar pop music. I hate it. It's like, I was into indie when indie top 20 albums were coming out in 86, 87 and the C86 and all them sort of albums, which was classed as indie and alternative because it was on independent record labels. These bands now signed to big labels, so it's not indie because it's not an independent record label.
That's right.
So it's like, stop coining this phrase, and it's lost now. Oasis sold indie down the river. It went in Nebworth. Once Nebworth had packed up, they packed the label indie into a box and put it into Radio 1, and it went down. And suddenly, guys and girls picked up guitars. They played they played the ashes of Britpop. And then suddenly indie became pop music. So I don't call it indie. But the old stuff I was into. Yeah. And it's like I was into the old style indie alternative music as well as grunge and all that kind of stuff.
Good old grunge.
And I guess with me being into that and coming into music when new wave started after punk, I started buying records when I was about 8, 9. So the late 70s. Into 80, Stranglers, Golden Brown, and The Jam were the first bands that I really started getting into. And I was only about Ian Dury, the Blockheads. I love him. And I think when Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick came out, I was 9. And these songs just kind of gripped me. And I went to my local record shop and I was buying 7 inches every week with any 75p that I could find and going up into my bedroom and listening to them till I knew every word. And the Specials and Ghost Town and songs like that, which we speak to my friends now, all them words are relevant now 40 years later in the current political climate. So we're talking about boarded up towns. We're talking about things going wrong and the political landscape.
Weirdly cyclical, isn't it, with a new package on it, you know?
Yeah. So I guess that's our music, whereas Sachiko also loves prog, which I don't get my head around. But and I can hear through the headphones, she's coming down the stairs so she can hear me talking. And I'm not going to slag off Emerson, Lake and Palmer or King Crimson and stuff like that she loves. But we do have a mutual love of when we get into Pink Floyd. So I guess there is where we join and then go through the indie stuff and Jesus and Mary Chain, Ride, Charlatans. We went to watch Cast last night. So the light.
I remember seeing them donkey shoes.
Yeah, they played in Rill last night. So it was good. Oof. And Sachiko got to meet John Power last night. So my friends, we got to introduce and meet her before. So I guess musical joining, and then Sachiko more or less saying to me, I love you. She was in a band in Japan and called Single Man, and she was writing and she was creating and doing the odd covers and stuff, but she couldn't write in English. And I was doing the spoken word at the time, and I went, well, I could put words to music. So she went into the bedroom, created a lot of sounds, and she said, they're not that good. I went, they're brilliant. Let me put some words on it. I recorded them, and then we just threw them onto Bandcamp and made 2 little mini digital EPs. One was done with guitars, and one was done with more keyboard stuff that she was playing around with. So we put them out, and then lockdown came in, and then we couldn't do anything, and she couldn't gig over here anyway because even on a tourist visa, she can't work whether it's voluntarily or not. So we had to wait until she had a visa which allowed her to work in this country.
Very sensible.
Yeah, so we got
into the rules as well.
I know. I think the fear of if we'd have worked once, not got paid, and that would have affected a visa, that would have affected our life. So there are certain
it would have
things.
been sod's law that would have like been the moment where you broke into like
someone like me who shouts up about. For someone like me who shouts up about being antagonistic and has a profile, I guarantee they'd have gone, I'm going to piss on his chips. I'm going to stop his wife from coming over. They've worked, they've not got paid, but that's against the law. So because it's against the law, we're going to stop her coming and living here just to wind him up. And I know that would have happened. So it was a case of, for the sake of a couple of months, let's just hang back a bit. It's already COVID. Things aren't going ahead. Is there a rush? So then once she got the bit of paper through, we flicked the switch, got in touch with promoters, and we went live last December. And like for your other side of the question, what you can expect, hard-hitting, loop distorted guitars. If you like bands like Sonic Youth, Jesus and Mary Chain, The Fall, Sisters of Mercy, Suicide, Spiritualized, something that's sonic, something that's psychedelic, but got a punk element, that it'll be up your street. I can't sing to save my life, so I do spoken word, and I do harmonize the odd word, but it goes through a vocalizer, so it sounds quite distorted. So it adds another texture of music to it. I play drums, and I put them through electronic drums. I put them through a loop, so they keep playing while I'm talking. And Sachiko plays effects, loop, distorted guitars. So it's very rhythmic. She'll put a bass line through. She'll put a rhythm guitar line through, and she'll play lead as well. And it's very DIY. We're well rehearsed. We practice every day. So it's slick. And at half-hour set, we'll cram 6-7 tracks and a couple of ambient pieces with spoken word in. And it's non-stop. There's none of this talking in between. We rise it. We keep it going. It's industrial. And that's the dirt. It's dirty sounds. It's just. It's not melodies. It's not easy listening, but it's good listening. It's different. It's for the alternative ear. If you like psychedelic or new wave and stuff, it'll be up your street. If you like Britney Spears, I'd say don't bother.
Can you imagine trying to like repackage Britney Spears?
However, I might do a cover of that song. Is it Toxic or something like that?
Yeah,
I like the title Toxic. So I might do a cover or something like that.
You goosebumps actually, because there's some lyrics in that I think you could really do some interesting work with.
This is it, and just do it, not a parody, but do a proper good harsh cover. Some of my favourite rock and indie and psych bands that have done covers of pop songs before have been brilliant because they're written. A lot of them songs and pop songs are written by really good songwriters. Who have got publishing deals, and they write songs for the pretty people. So
with the baby voices,
with the lovely little voices and stuff. And I did do a gig in Northwich the other week, and I wore a skirt and a dress all day, so I can pull off a size 14, 16 frock.
I definitely think you should do that.
I was wearing them because I wanted to just lower barriers. It was a mate of mine. She runs a store where I'm doing a book night in Northwich in October. And she's got a vintage stall, and I went, I've forgotten my shorts. So she let me. She was going to let me a pair of combat shorts off the rail. I went, can I wear that skirt instead? And then it just turned out to anything that was oversized 14, because I'm a farming stock of North Yorkshire. I've got a broad back, so I need something that's going to fit me my barrel chest in. She let me wear it, and I just said to any woman up here that's got to worry about your size 16, don't worry, love. I've got to put with hairy legs and my size 16. There is no body shaming that goes on when I'm performing. So I just wanted to lower any sort of stigma that if any bloke that says to his wife, you're looking quite big in that dress, well, actually, look at that hairy ass bastard. Look at that hairy idiot on stage. He's pulling it off. So the women can fight back and say, look, he's doing it, I'm doing it.
I love it.
Great
So
stuff.
it's all little things like that.
I'm sure there must be photographic evidence of that
There
somewhere.
is. There's loads. There's loads. Go on the Pig Farmer's page. There is
Oh,
me in loads.
totally
I wore a
good.
different outfit for everyone. I'm in some sequin number. I'm wearing.
Ooh,
I think I put 3 dresses on and another one 4 different skirts, and I bought one for
amazing.
festivals.
Is
I bought
it freeing to wear a skirt for you?
long ones are very long ones are
it.
freeing. The shorter ones make me feel like vulnerable. I know what a long feet must like walking home on a night now with no barriers, with no restrictions, and walking home and thinking I felt vulnerable in Connor's Key, or we're not Connor's Key, in the east side of Northwich, surrounded by all my friends, and I felt vulnerable. I'd hate to think what a low female walking home must feel like. It must be horrific. So I kind of understand these.
This is why you
lower
wear shorts underneath skirts, you see. And
right.
some of my 40
I still had boxer shorts on, and I was like,
yeah, well, some of my 40-odd and plus-year-old friends will know what I mean by chub rub shorts. You put them under a dress and you're fine.
oh, good. I'll remember that. But I will be wearing any festivals or any suitable summer gigs. I'll wear a shirt in the future. I found it quite liberating.
Well, I can recommend Snags for chub rub shorts.
There's a new word. And you said I had good vocabulary. Snags hasn't even come into anything yet. But it will come into book number 3, Snags.
It's a brand that make the most amazing tights.
And chub rub.
Chub rub, yeah. It's a thing that happens to women when they walk around in the heat.
Right, okay.
It's the thighs rubbing together thing makes them sore.
Okay.
But putting shorts on under a dress means you feel a lot less vulnerable.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So here we go. We're just educating each other here. So, so what about sort of? Have you got the Dirt and Leon gigs like all sort of intermingled, like dates wise? I'm assuming you're keeping them separate, but you've got a whole different list and kind of doing both at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they kind of like they sometimes in which they are doing a couple of festivals. I'm doing gigs for both, but I try to keep them separately. With a couple of festivals, one in Sheffield in September, another one at Butlins in Minehead with a load of old bands that are on. I'm doing that. I'm doing both, but on different days. So I will do them both at the same festival, but they tend to stay separate because they're different kind of crowds a lot of the time. So I'll do my Leon stuff, which this year now I'm not doing many more open mic spoken word nights because I've got about 10 dates to do in the next 3 months before we go back to Japan of book launch nights. So I've got half-hour sets to do 2 or 3 a month. With doing 2 Dirt gigs a month, that's a lot of rehearsal and a lot of time to do. So like I alluded to at the beginning, so Sachiko doesn't say, can I have Jack back in the house instead of Leon? I'm having to cut back on certain things, which is going to reassess how I do stuff next year when we get back from Japan. Because each trip, I've come back in the spring and I've done things differently, shed a skin and took a different approach. So I think next February when we come back, it'll see a different line of how Leon operates and an acceleration more of the Dirt, and maybe Leon taking a bit of a step back. So
interesting. I like that.
Yeah, it's about balance, like we said. Everything you've got to balance everything, but it's also about having that time to breathe and that time in the middle to enjoy life. That it's not just constant writing, rehearsing, performing, depressurizing. Because once you've done all that over 2 or 3 days, you've only got a couple of days left. And when you're doing all your admin and trying to sell stuff to fund what you're doing and to also create new stuff and enjoy life with the person you've committed and contractually agreed to spend the rest of your life with, you've got to spend time. You have. That's what you've done. You've contractually agreed to have fun.
I know Nad must be resonating with a lot of this, because Nad's got a sort of part of their life was in the music world as well, wasn't it? So you must know that kind of pace and stuff.
I was just going to say a bit about enjoying life. If you don't enjoy the life, then you haven't got the experiences to write about you. So
no, you've not.
You've got to have that time to reflect and just dive in and enjoy, and you've got some material as well.
and that's it. You've got to reflect on what's just happened a couple of days before and embrace and enjoy it. And if you don't, it will pass you by. And before you know it, it's months down the line, or it then becomes years down the line, and it's hard. You can't bring it back then. And so you've got to enjoy it while it's happening and embrace it. Because otherwise, why am I doing it? Why am I going out and saying, yeah, I've got some books and I've got this and celebrate every sale. I sold a couple today. Like, yes, people got it. And other things like my mate's band from Cardiff, I got a T-shirt because we were exchanging wares. And it's all about a cooperative that, yeah, I'll wear your T-shirt, the lost and found, which is what I was. And his band are brilliant.
I love that. That's so
great.
So you, isn't it?
Yeah. And I said, I need a T-shirt. He went, I'll give you one. Right, I'll give you a book. I'll educate myself on your music and you educate on it. And we've got a found love of each other. And I am going to go down to Cardiff and do some work with this band. And they're all brilliant lads and down to earth. And they've got a great sound. If you like Manic Street Preachers and that kind of stuff, they're right with your street. They're really good. And they're gigging lads. I do gigs down there. And I met them today. They came up to Cardiff. I told them I was in the area. They said, come along, we'll have a day out together. And it's all little things like that. If I had done this journey, I would never have met lads like that. So I had to enjoy the day. And today I come home and reflect and enjoy and look back and talk about yesterday, what went on, and met him this morning briefly. And if you don't, it just becomes another day in a treadmill and you've moved on. So just enjoy today. I'll worry about tomorrow, about plugging the book and social media, and I'll worry about putting some words in my phone onto paper tomorrow, because today is a day of reflection from my 3 or 4 days off, and it's the last day before we start getting busy downstairs in the cellar cum studio to get a week, because next Monday we go into someone's studio proper with mixing decks, and we've got to get 11 tracks, 8 tracks and 3 bits of music spoken word into a computer so he can do all these digitally knobbly bits to get it onto vinyl for next year.
That's going to be an intense day, isn't it?
It's going to be 2 intense days, really. We're booked in for 2, 3 if we need. But it's the way Sachiko and me work. We'll spend this week honing each track down so that when we go in, she can plug in, get through it. I can put my words on, and hopefully we'll have it nailed down. I'm not one of sitting around and checking.
I feel like we could do a whole other interview on how you guys work together, because I have tons of questions about that. How you do that?
I've got. I'm looking forward on this one. I've got a student artist it's a friend of mine's daughter, and she's going to come and document the journey from when we start this week. So she's going to come and do photography in our house. She's going to come to the studio. She's going to come to a live gig. And I've got another little project in my head that if I pull it off, it'll be a blinder. But it's literally a record without music. It's a book, and then you click on little, what they call them, little square things on the computer. What they're called? You know, you put your phone on, and the little squares with lots of chicken stuff. They're the ones. So I'm going to put a cute. I'm not very tech savvy. You see, Sachiko do all that business. That's why I get a computer guy who lives about 6 doors down to put everything in the book together. He's got loads of images and ideas, and I must wind him up when I'm trying to do stuff. He went, right, come round next week and we'll talk face to face, because I talk in weird words that don't make sense to a digital marketer. And I say, I want it like this, and I give him pictures, but I don't want it like that. I want it like this. Well, just and it's my mind don't work in professional wording like that. And
no, I'm like that.
Acronyms and all those other things that you use. It's like I can't do them. So I'm trying to work on an album cover with him, but I want to do this book where you look through it and you look at pictures and you look at things that look very much like a book. But if you click a QR code, you can hear a track online while you're doing it.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah, so that's another little baby in my head. I have all these weird ideas, and Patch goes, "Oh no, not another one."
Can we just keep working on the one we've got right now?
Yeah, let's just do this one. Stop looking at the lights fly. Come back. It's like, oh.
Well, I'm glad someone's documenting that process, because I can just imagine, give it a couple of years or so, and it'll be like, you know, you'll massively break into the world, and everyone will know who you are, and they'll be like hovering over this. Ooh, there's this old school footage of when they first started. That could be, how cool would that be?
I'd love
and
to find this.
I know them.
Yeah.
I would love to find this ideal utopia. Excuse me. I'd love to find this ideal utopia where someone who's DIY artist like us that don't have a big management or publishing PR firm can actually get on to someone like Jonathan Ross. My mate says, she goes, "You're going to be on Jonathan Ross one day. You're going to be on Jonathan Ross." I went, "Well, I love your confidence and I love your vision. However, for someone who doesn't subscribe to mainstream television and corporate stuff, that might be a problem."
Yeah.
Because I'm a liability. They thought they had problems when they used to get those old drunken George Bests or people like that on. That's
well, do you
nothing when
remember,
you've got.
do you remember when they had Sean Ryder on TGR Friday, and they had to make it a 15-minute delay because of his swearing?
Oh,
one time.
It was like that show as well. Who was that really mad drunk actor in the 80s? He was on Russell Arty. Oh, he was.
Was it Ollie?
Yes.
Ollie Reed. Yeah.
Oliver Reed was on.
Yeah.
That's a classic. I love it. He was just falling in his chairs, and I went, to put me on sober with a political and with a point of view that to get across, and as someone who can't shut up, I'm more dangerous than a drunk Oliver Reed. So I don't think I'd fit into the corporate system like that. However, I'd love to think that they'd let me on mainstream telly just once, just to slag it off. It's just like, I keep saying to people, I want to go on Big Brother. I hate the program. I'd love to go on Big Brother. I'd love to just tell people what they're really.
Yeah.
They're like, just to go in there and be opinionated. Not like you said, not be nasty, but just tell a few people a couple of home truths.
Yeah.
What are you on about? You're bullshit.
What planet are you on?
And just go in and cause a storm, even if it's for the first week, just to cause a storm and something. Oh, do you want to come and do an advert for black t-shirts? No, bluff, mate. It's not.
It'll happen one day. It will.
Oh, it'd be brilliant. It'd be brilliant if I could just walk on a brilliant stage at Glastonbury and me and Sachiko just rip it up and go there. It'd be mad. But one of those things you don't know what's around the corner and you don't know what's going to happen, do you? And,
you don't, and you're obviously enjoying the ride,
Yeah.
which is the main thing, and that's really going to stick with me, what you said before. So you're going to drop some dates into the group for us, links to the book as well.
I will do. I'll drop them all at the page. I do sometimes suffer with this imposter syndrome thing, and I know you run a brilliant group, and the group has grown since I first got involved with it, and I kind of took a step back. And it's brilliant for the invite to come in. I know you've given me this license to plug, and some people might have a problem with that, but I will do it. But I know it's like your chips, and I'm not peeing on them, so it's good. But I will do. I'll put all my links in, and I am going to keep doing videos. I need to make a track of which ones I'm putting on, so I don't repeat myself.
Do you know what? I wouldn't worry, because some people see it and some people don't.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things. But you're always one of our original rebels. I can't even say it, original rebels.
Rebels.
You always have a home with us, so you absolutely get that stuff. We genuinely love what you do. And I'm going to be absolutely doing my damnedest to get to a dirt gig and book launch stuff and all of that.
Me too.
We can try and get as many rebels as possible. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, come down. I am all over the north. It's literally turned into an M62 tour by just going off a few miles. I said to a friend of mine who's, do a couple of dates and that'll be it. And then I spoke to a good performance poet who's nationally known, and he went, "You're good enough now, do a tour." I went, "Yeah, maybe one day." And then suddenly people were coming to me, and then we've got Liverpool, Northwich, Accrington, York,
wow,
Sheffield, Huddersfield, Manchester, and I've just agreed to finish the tour off in an iconic venue, which I've got a promoter on board. We spoke at a meeting on the phone on Friday, so hopefully in a week or so I'm going to be announcing a closure gig at an iconic place around the Greater Manchester area.
Oh wow!
And
That's
it will
exciting.
have, like, everything I try and do is free and accessible. So the gigs are free. My mates will come along, do a bit of like you saw, Emma. My mates will come along, do a bit of
That was
acoustic
such a cool
interlude.
venue, that one.
And I'm still working with them guys. They're brilliant. They've changed the name, but they've got a really good recording studio. So I try and make most of the gigs free because I'll do them for free. I'll try and flog a few bucks. My mates come along. We return favors. I'll go and play for them for nothing. And I want to make it free, accessible, because everyone's under the cosh at the moment.
Yeah.
But this one will have to, because of the venue, people will have to dip in a couple of quid in the pocket for the level of people I'm getting on with me. But because of the venue it is, but it'll be worth it. It's gonna be mental. For anyone that's a music lover of like a certain era of an age of us, it's
I've got
I know where you're on
Oh,
about.
it's in my head running round.
Nad, you can message me offline and I will confirm or deny.
Okay.
But this is our little sworn to secrecy triangle, the Holy Trinity, that I'm letting people know that at the end of November, the beginning of December, before we go to Japan, I'm going to put a banger out there.
That's just so intriguing.
This will be where Lisa goes, where do you want to go? If I'm going to perform at this place, it will be the highlight. If I can get 100 people in this room, I will come to Morley. Lisa, this is where I had problems with the people who were telling me, because I've not got awards and I've not been on the BBC. They're not letting me into Leeds at the moment. Yeah, I am speaking to another guy in Leeds who likes me. I'm going to tell the city, but as being a Leeds fan, I'd love to do a gig in Leeds, but I've not got there yet. If you can find a pub or a cafe bar that does lovely craft beer that wants me to come and warble, I'll come to Morley. I am talking to Skipton and Bradford, but Leeds has eluded me at the moment. I did a gig at Hyde Park Book Club a couple of months ago, and it went down a storm, and there's some really good poets in Leeds. There's some good antagonistic poets and artists as well, and I don't think they're getting the true platform yet. So I want to get back into that city and just ruffle some feathers, like we were saying.
I'm not going to put on Lisa's next comment because it will put you in a position of whether to confirm or deny or try and do poker face. But Lisa's comment after that is that she needs in on the triangle, but that would then make it a square, Lisa.
It would.
But she does also apparently have the perfect place in Morley. Halfway House at the end of my road. That's a cool name as well.
Go in.
So much we could talk about.
Yeah, I'll come to the halfway house. I'll come and do a chat. I'm quite happy about that.
Right, hook him up, Lisa.
Hook me up, Lisa. Go to the landlord, landlady, land person. Go have a word with them and say, look, have you got a microphone up here? Can we get a lovely acoustic lad or lass on? And do we have someone else that wants to natter? I know a couple of people just outside Leeds at that side of town who would quite happily come along and warble with me. If you want a night of spoken word and they don't expect a cover band, we're on.
That's brilliant. That's one of the things I really liked about your book launch gig, the fact that it actually, like, I was exposed, not literally, to other acts as well that had such different styles, which was just ace. Loved that. Really
good. I think that you've got offered a diverse experience. It can't just be white, male, shouty man, just heterosexual, giving.
Is that how you describe yourself?
Well,
white,
I
male,
don't. I have
shouty,
been described as the white, the shouty, sweary man by my friends' children. So, but no, that's what we go back to. We go back to boxes, don't we? I have to tick a box. Are you? Yeah, I'm white. I'm male. I'm heterosexual. I'm this. I'm that. So I fit into this.
I wouldn't describe you as shouty and sweary. Just wouldn't. But I suppose to a child, maybe that's all.
Yeah, I do cut out a few F's and Jeffs if there's kids about, but some of them I don't. But when I do, I consciously mix the night up so we are accessing everybody's thoughts, not just people of my linear line of living. It's like everybody comes into this party, everyone's accessible, everyone's invited. There is nobody that is not invited. Like the night you did, my mate Ushiku, who's crazy, he's got more sort of like different mental health and medical conditions through Asperger's and other things, and he is brilliant, and he puts a story together, and he's well known. I've got people that are non-binary, people of all different ethnic backgrounds. I've got people of all different sexualities, and bring them in to bring all different stories because they are as relevant as someone who's talking through my eyes. And I can't talk through their eyes because I've not lived their experiences.
Well, also the audience that night I went to was eclectic as well and diverse.
They are.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah, and I think to tell a full story of what the world is like today, we've got to have everybody in. This isn't about ticking a box. Well, you'll help me with funding, or you'll help that. No, it's like you're coming in because you're part of this journey, and I've met you along this way. So you're on the train, you're coming along, and you're getting off the platform with me. We're having an natter.
Love it.
And it's literally as simple as that. And I like to keep it simple because the moment we start complicating stuff with identifications and doing stuff, they are relevant in society. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody needs to have their place and what they want to be referred, called, and everything as. However, there's not. It's not relevant in my.
You shouldn't restrict us within that.
Yeah, it's like you're a person to me. You're M, you're Nad, you're whatever. You're a person. I don't have to put a veil of a filter on to see you as equal. We're all equal. It's just that's a lot of some of them are a lot better than me. So more
well, I think that's a beautiful place to end. We've had a good natter of an hour and a half. That is a record, and it was so easily done. I could happily do another hour and a half.
That's an hour and a half. That's the length of a football match, isn't it?
Yeah. And, nobody's won over anybody else, so that's good.
0-0 after extra time. No one's offended. No one's hurt. No one's been offended.
No one's got any bruises or broken legs or anything.
I only said the odd F and the odd B word, and we've kept it quite minimal.
It doesn't matter. I'm not bothered.
No.
Not bothered.
Thank you so much, Jack. This has been an absolute joy.
Jack.
And
thank you for having me. I love it, and I apologise for the last. I have been busy, but I should just dip in and put the odd comment on, and I'll put the odd video on now and then.
I'm glad you're busy.
Yeah, it's good. It's part of life, innit? And but I loved putting the videos on at the beginning and having a go. I used to put reminders on my phone. It's Rebel Wednesday. We brought the camels back. Let's put a video up on a Wednesday.
So it's always a good Wednesday highlight.
Try and put it on at 1:00 when everyone's on the lunch and just put a video up. I'll try and get as many done as I can.
Do you know what we should do? We can't let you go until and I haven't asked you beforehand if you would be prepared to do this, but would you do as a little performance before we round up? Do as a little piece.
I'll do the first one that's in the book if you want. It's the first one that I open a dirt set with as well.
Amazing. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do then. I'm going to get you to do that, and then I'm going to take us offline. I'm not even going to say anything after it. We're just going to feature you and then go offline. Thank you for teaming up with me, Nadia. And thank you.
When I say implode in time, that is more or less when I repeat that we are finished.
Amazing.
Reality and normality will not be televised. Camp Fear will clash with algorithm anarchists. I'm living in a boombox of bureaucracy. I'm staring at a scrapbook of unicorns and mirrors. The soulless will slur with a curse, crown jewels to the favoured fools. Kinetic energy will ignite the cast of creatives. I'm propelled into an odyssey of mischief. Newspapers stoke and poke the fire. Adrenaline-fueled assaults will wave to ambient light. Dry your eyes on sandpaper and a drop frozen shoulder. Smell the whiskey, taste the daffodils. Intelligence suppression, dictated ideology. They have a 2-page ad-lib manifesto, a demolition derby of social structures, rewired principles force-fed by disciples. They've burnt the lexicon of us libertarians, a political apothecary of concocted aggression measures. Visionaries are concealed in cargo containers, yet hope will shine bright in the dark. I won't subscribe to their fake-placated policies. Any interest and enthusiasm has lapsed and expired. Embryonic spirits are groomed by corporate criminals, and I will not bark at Bedlam's door. They mould it bold and it's cheaply sold. A propaganda painting at a poll station. The petri dish is a gutter of an alien nation, and I won't gate crash their trash party scene. Let's kick up leaves in Indian summers. Time to choke and strangle the oppressor under a blood-red sky. It's time for a successor. Because they bury their believers with their melted souls. Dystopian nightmares have become the real world. Dragged from a grave to a darker hole. Utopian highways, they're paved in fool's gold. Their sellotapes on eyes, their hooks in skin. Abrasions on knees, blood-clotted grin. A fragrant opinion and cremated truth. They have reached their ceiling with its leaky roof. They catapult puzzles, hidden provocation, disjointed messages, disorganisation. The capitalist coyotes that hunt in packs and the VIP vultures picking up their table scraps. Because they offered false hope with blood-filled decanters. Selling poisoned apples they want to dismantle. Digging cesspits with pins and needles, hoping that the wise man drops real gold for freedom. because equations are created to confuse the weak, and the mask is to hide the ravens beak. Alarm bells shriek and death bells toll. They huddle, they cuddle, they keep us in the cold. And they market the mayhem, they flog it in halls. They paint their pictures on advert boards. They wash away acidic tears. They've ripped the script of our satirical jeers. But the costumes, they're not created to deflect the failures, and they're certainly not the angels who came to save us. Their second-hand theories, their first-degree crimes, their incendiary solutions have now imploded in time. They've imploded in time. They've imploded in time. I am Leon the Pig Farmer. I'm also Jack Horner, and I'm one half of the dirt. Thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you much for Emma and Nad. Good night.